Hi again, my name's Sue. I'm a psychic medium. And through my company Intuitive Connections, my job is to connect those of us here in the human world with our loved ones who've passed to the spirit world. So in my previous videos in this series, I've talked about what a medium is, talked about my journey, and I've talked about the tools and techniques that mediums use in order to connect to the spirit world. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit more about what actually happens in a reading. So one of the things that people often ask me is, who can come through to me in a reading? Well, the first point to make is that unfortunately, no matter how much we might want to, we can't actually command any particular spirit to come through. Even successful, experienced mediums can't make a particular person come through from their own family in the spirit world to come and talk to them if that spirit either isn't ready or doesn't want to. So, one of the things you need to be prepared for is to go to see your medium for your reading and expect that anybody who was known to you, who's now past the spirit, could come through. There's no point going there and thinking, I really want to speak to my mum today. You might well get to speak to your mum, but please have an open mind, because sometimes those spirits that we dearly want to talk to can't quite make it through, and they may send somebody else to talk on their behalf instead. Another question that I often get asked is, what happens to people who've only just passed over? Are they able to come through in a reading? Well, if you saw my earlier videos, you'll know that my dear partner Clive, who passed very suddenly, was able to come through and talk to me on the day of his funeral through a very powerful medium that I went to see. So yes, in fact, it's all about whether that particular spirit has mastered the technique of coming through. And sometimes, just as they were in life, spirits could be a little bit shy. They might have been quiet people, and therefore they're going to be quiet in the spirit world. There might have been people who wouldn't ever have wanted to push themselves forward. They might have been people who didn't really believe in all of this, so it's taking them a little bit of time to get used to the idea. Or it may be that they're just struggling because they haven't quite got the technique. So for whatever reason, please don't be upset if your particular loved one doesn't come through to you, although believe me, if you tell the medium who it is that you would really like to connect with, then they will try very hard to get that person through for you. Another question I often get asked is about pets, because of course we really love our pets, and when we lose a pet, it's like losing a member of the family, and that can be any pet: dogs, cats, horses, guinea pigs, whatever. And people say, well, do pets come through in spirit? And the answer is absolutely yes, they do. But of course they don't talk to you because they couldn't talk when they were here, and it's no different when they get to the spirit world. But mediums can very often see pets around you whilst they're doing the reading. And just in the same way that I could describe your uncle who might have come through from spirit, I will be able to describe your dog who's come through. And when a dog is around us, a spirit dog, then you know that they're always going to be loyal and around us all the time, protecting us just as they always were when they were here on our side. So that can give people great comfort too. Another question I get asked is about babies who didn't quite make it through onto the human plane. So babies who were stillborn, or perhaps didn't even get that far. Now, it can be extremely upsetting and traumatic for the mother who's lost that child, and it can be a great comfort for a medium to be able to say to the bereaved mother, for example, I have your grandma here, and she's holding a baby, and she tells me that she's got your baby. Because many people, when they lose a baby, a small child. They feel very, very vulnerable, and they feel very worried about what's going to happen to that child's spirit. So it's important to be aware that those children do pass over just the same. Quite often they're looked after by our relatives who are already over there. And particularly if they went over very small or indeed unborn, they will continue to grow in the spirit world. And that's something that I found really amazing when I became a medium. I've learned to identify now the difference between a young person who came over to human life and then passed away to spirit world, and somebody who never made it, because they actually look different, and they do have a real different sense of peace and joy about them. So that can be a comfort. Also, you may have heard people talking about spirits in transition, and what does that mean? Well, there are very different views about this, and there are many religions around the world who have an idea in their ethos about a middle place, a place where spirits go after they've departed human life and before they become fully passed over into the spirit world. Sometimes we do come across this, yes, particularly if a spirit has passed very suddenly. There can be a period of time where they need to adjust to being over there, and although it's not for us to know exactly what goes on in that period, it's important not to worry about it, because it's just part of the journey that they're on, and they'll stay as long as they need to in that transition phase before they're ready to move on. But they can still talk, they can still come through, they can still connect with a medium and talk to you. So, in summary then, what can you expect in terms of your loved ones coming through? Well, you can expect that, in fact, just about anybody who knew you on this side of life can come through and connect with you from the other side. And over the times I've been doing this, I've had people's teachers, I've had the next door neighbour, I've had somebody who was a close friend of Granny's, all sorts of things. In addition to that, you can expect that your own loved ones will try their very hardest to come through, but sometimes they just can't, and they might send another messenger instead. Pets can definitely come through, as can babies who either didn't make it over to this side or who left us very soon after they did. And spirits who are in transition, in other words, have only recently passed, can also still connect with us, talk to you through the medium, and give you great comfort. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll join me for some more films in this series. See you soon.